All right, this ain't a training camp battle preview yet. Even though we almost to training camp, even though the NBA playoffs still going on, in the regular season, NBA playoffs will be about done already. But the great thing about the NBA starting late and the NFL starting on time is that, for people who don't like baseball or tennis and some of the other sports, I like tennis and golf. A lot of people didn't know I played through my childhood. They played in a while, but this NBA can hold us over till damn near training camp. I think the finals could end the first or second week of July. So the finals are gonna drag us into July in the training camp. So right around before training, almost to training camp. Training camp kind of started the last week in July for the teams that's playing in the Hall of Fame game, preseason game. That's gonna kind of take us till they start a week before that. So, the finals is almost take us to training camp. Right before training camp, we do the camp battles. But really, it ain't really a significant battle in the receivers. As far as the receivers, they say Odell Beckham wanted to get traded. He come off an ACL injury. Michael Thomas is a guy that could have been traded. Julio Jones could have been traded, right? But, honestly, if you look at some of the past Super Bowl winners, they didn't have, the greatest receiving core. When Tom Brady won, he didn't have the best receiving core. You're talking about Troy Browns, Deion Branch sometimes, David Givens. Even before Randy got there, they didn't have the best receiving core. The year they beat the Eagles in McNabb and T.O. But let's talk about it. One of the longest intros you're going to get. Check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist for more videos like this. And my thing is, this thing is going to be by committee. And you're going to have Swift and Hawkinson, who should be the most targeted pass catchers on the team. But at the same time, you look at what they got. Victor Bolden tearing it up in camp. You got Saint Amon Ra, Quintez Cephas, Tyrell Williams, Rashad Perriman. Now, the battle is going to be who starred, but honestly, it don't matter. I think it's going to roll who got the hottest. You get the Eagles. The year they won, they did have Alphon Jeffries, that's some solid, but they didn't have the greatest receiving core. You can just keep going on and on. To be honest, I think the formula to building a Super Bowl team of the norm is you don't really have to spend money on receivers. Look at when Russell Wilson won it, when they played outside New York when it was cold. They didn't have the greatest receivers. I mean, even when Cam Newton and Carolina went, they didn't have the greatest receivers. So, to be honest, if you're talking about building a football team the correct way, it got to be a little bit of luck as well, too, because you got durability. You're going to build the offensive line. You're going to build the defensive line. Then you're going to go branch off to the skill positions. Then you're going to talk about linebackers, safeties, corners. Then you're going to talk about first, you're going to talk about quarterback, receivers, and running backs. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, the formula really of recent is to have a rookie quarterback on the cheap on his rookie deal to do his thing. But, normally the Lions kind of got the depth on the defensive line. We'll see if the young guys work out or some of the older guys like Panisi take another step. Deshaun Hand kind of arrive again. We'll learn that a little bit later. But right now, they got depth on the offensive line. Bob Quinn had to rework it a couple times, but High Tide, Stenberger, Jonah Jackson, Taylor Decker, he did a great job there. Frank Ragnow. Now you add High Tide, right? You still got Terrell Crosby, So you got depth there, And then you really, honestly, the only thing that's holding the Lions back, there's only a few things. And the biggest thing is depth. Familiarity with the coaching staff and the system. You know what I'm saying? And really the quarterback position. To be honest, it's not a bad team. And just injury issues over the last few years. But the offensive line had some hype. Under Patricia, it was depth. And then it was just system. To be honest, man, if they can get some help out the pass rushers this year, they got depth in the DB field. Safety just bother a little bit people, but if all the stars in line, it start with Jared Goff playing well. It start with staying healthy, and also the biggest place that stand for the Lions as far as depth is the safety position and linebacker position. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the team, just gelling. Once the offensive line gel, they can stay healthy. Once the defensive line gel, they can stay. And it's gonna take time. You're not really gonna see this in the season. To the end of the season, they stay healthy, they gel. to be honest, if they can block, run the ball, protect the quarterback, and get after the passer, the Lions might be a couple drafts away, if everything aligned right, which historically that hasn't happened. If everything aligned right, the Lions may legit be 2 or 3 drafts away from being a contender, especially if the quarterback work out. Because overall, if everything pan out for the Lions and Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and coaches is right, really you hoping for health, and then really you just got to build numbers in the linebacker core, build numbers at safety, and build numbers, in the running back position and get the right quarterback. As far as receiving cores, there's been examples of teams not had the greatest receiving core and going to the Super Bowl. Now, there's also been examples of teams having a great receiving core. The greatest show on turf had a great receiving core. Isaac Bruce, Torrey Hart, then you had Ricky. I think you might have Ricky Probe and Isaac Keem. Remember, he played for the Lions. He had some couple solid years. But you can make a case that the Eagles receiving core in the Super Bowl versus the Patriots was better than the Patriots. And that's just what it is. So receiving core is not going to be the core of your football team. The core of your football team and the guys who are going to have longevity over your average receiver is going to be your offensive line, your defensive lineman. And if Aleem and Orzorki are what they advertise as and get there, it's going to be over with. Because you can put anybody at linebacker, and if they can do their job, they're going to keep the linebacker clean. So it's going to be a problem. But I also think the biggest issue is going to be rushing that passer too. We're going to see. But as far as the receiving core, it can be done by committee. It can be done by committee, especially if you're able to run the ball. Play action going to get them separation off rip. Especially if you're throwing the ball to Swift and Hockenson is going to be the 1 and 2 targets or 1A, 1B targets. Guess what? Attention going to be on them working inside and outside the hashes. Even if it's just Hockenson doing this thing in inside the hashes and outside the hashes, he going to get attention. They're going to have to bracket him. Guess what? You got Swift and Williams or whoever, or Jefferson come out the backfield. And guess what? Williams, Bashar Perriman, St. Amon Ra, and Cephas and Bowden, they're going to have one-on-ones. So you won't see a lot of double teams unless they get hot. And really, if the Lions run and throw it to the tight end, to the backs like they should, and they advertise in the season, you're going to see a lot of one-on-ones. If they run, you're going to see a lot of people dropping in the box. Really, it all starts with the run game for the whole team. Think about it. They had top 5 defenses. People forget about that when they talking about Stafford not having help. Really, it's been not having that consistent run game. You know why? They had a dome mentality. Even Patricia got here saying we're going to have a run game coordinator. And he is snarled and nasty and spitting and being mean. As mean as he was advertised and how they wanted to get it right, they never fixed the run game. Holmes come in and Campbell come in. They instantly get one of the best players in the draft, and Sewell. Excuse me, I think I called him Hightower earlier. Sewell. Okay. One thing you ain't really running off tackle with Taylor Decker. But we can run between him and Jackson. We can run between Jackson and Ragnow. And eventually, you're going to run off Sewell. You're going to run between Hightower and Sewell. You're going to run between Hightower and Ragnow. So, the difference was with Rick Ragnar and Terrell Crosby, they wasn't anchors where you're going to run that way. Now, you have off right tackle, right guard, center, left guard, tackle. You're not going to run off Taylor Decker. But you got 5 or 6 ways to run the football now. You got 5 or 6 funky ways to run the football. And that's the beautiful thing about it. The only problem I got is they don't have that big physical back. Short yardage situation. But if you got, no big hogs up front, open avenues, it don't matter who you really got back there running, big, small, or average. So to be honest, this thing is going to be by committee. In reality, Swift and Hockenson going to be 1. Hockenson and Swift should be 2. The other one should be 2. And then you're looking at Tyrell Williams being the 3rd option. You're looking at, Brashad being the 4th option. You're looking at Cephas and Samad Amon Ra being the 4th and 5th option. That's what you're truly looking at. And remember, this team was an injury away from Kenny Galladay. If they would have signed him up, maybe he would have been healthier. They're injury away to them making the playoffs. People don't understand how they had Galladay. Guess what? They beat the Bears twice. They win week 1. But they won. That's 6 wins right there, right? They give you the tiebreaker over the Bears. Never seen Kyler Murray getting injured. But, and also, I forget what other games was winnable game. But they had to have one of the Minnesota games they could have won. To be honest, the first or the second game they should have won in Minnesota. Or whatever other winnable game they had, you know. So all they had to win is to win 2 games. Had they won two additional, maybe versus the Saints with Galladay would have been a difference. Remember, their whole quarterback core was out. You know, so you're a Galladay injury away from probably making the playoffs, keeping Matt Patricia. Maybe that was a blessing in disguise. But honestly, with this receiving core, it's just by committee. You don't have to have a number 1, but your number 2 is going to be the run game. The run game is going to get them better. It's going to get them better releases. You know, less attention. So, you know, we all know, talked about earlier how Jared Goff didn't do well. All right, he didn't do well with receivers in motion. So if I can't put the receivers in motion to get them free release, we're going to have to stack them. We're going to have to, you know, run the ball. So we'll see. I think Jared Goff, for success this year, I think Jared Goff is 50% of success for this team. Okay? I think the rest, you know, we talk about another time. But he at least, you know, responsible for that. But hey, check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Don't forget me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can reach out if you have a business question, sponsorship, video question, whatever it may be. My link's there. Want to make a donation? Cash App, CJ Good 313. That's subscription. PayPal link there as well too. Appreciate the love and support. One time for the one time. Peace. Let me know what you think in the comment section. All right, all my Detroit Piston fans and all my Detroit fans, all my Motor City Sports Talk fans, make sure you guys go check out Piston Mike. We got him over 100 followers. So make sure you check him out. Everything Pistons, man. He gonna hold it down and do his thing just strictly on the Pistons thing. You know, I got the Lions and Pistons, but man, we always trying to help people get their channel up. Let's get them to 200 next, 300 next, 400 next, 500 next, and let's get them all the way to a rack so you can start making that bag. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you go over to Piston Mike as you see it on the screen. Let's get them to 200, then 300, then 400, then 500, and the whole shebang. Peace.